I know Elyona and SAS, they're pretty evenly matched in this case. Sassy qualifying for the last EGC event. I don't believe Elyona made it through though. So Sassy is the favorite here, but Elyona, this man cooks. Sometimes he can pull out anything from that hat. So we'll see what he decides to do. But I feel like on Sassy's side of the draft, we're definitely going to be looking at a lot of knight civilizations. He's a guy who loves his knights. What about Elyona? I ask you because obviously you play against them, and I do not.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Elyona and SAS, they are like literally right next to each other, I want to say, like in ATR, when it comes to ATR. Yeah, and they are actually, I do get confirmation, they are actually seed 12 and 13, respectively. So, and when it comes to playstyles as well, Elyona, I want to say, is even more of a knight enjoyer than SAS is. Like, Elyona, he loves knights, and he plays a lot of civilizations that utilize cavalry, and that might be as well where maybe there's a little bit of a weakness when it comes to like predictability to the civilization. Like Elyona, he really likes French, JD, Ottomans, Byzantines as well are great for him, but those are like sort of like the four main civilizations that we see Elyona play. I am not sure if he's got enough of a range here when it comes to the civilization draft, but we're going to have to see. We're going to be starting off with Dry River, so we already are starting off with a little bit of a hybrid map. We've got Frisian Marshes and Dry Arabia in the mix as well, so players are going to draft with these kind of maps in mind, and with Dry River, oh, nobody banned KT.
Now, the question is just if KT is actually something you need to ban on Dry River. Does it count? And I can imagine it does, because with Dry River, for those of you who don't know, you spawn with these little dry rivers in the middle, little dams, and they only have 5 shoreline fish. But that's still fish. And KT...
2,500, yeah.
That's a lot of food. And KT would love that. But there are some other civs that could make a play for this. I think with these types of maps, we don't always see the ideal meta at these early stages. Usually, by the second last week of these EGC events, we do see how people properly figure out how to play them. So we'll see what these two have in store. But I do like to see that Elyona went for the Lancasters, and the Lancasters in his draft being pretty nice, especially considering it got banned out on Sassy's side. So I didn't expect Lancaster to get banned on these maps that we're seeing in front of us, at least.
Yeah, I definitely would have expected more of a prio for Knights Templar here. And we do see SAS immediately picking Knights Templar, Elyona responding with immediate House of Lancaster pull behind that. Honestly, though, Knights Templar, just because of Dry River being in the map pool, just feels a lot more solid for SAS in this one. Jury's Legacy, also very, very strong civilization. And I gotta say, like, time and time again, I talk about this Juji Legacy up against the House of Lancaster. The Clown Car is back. The Clown Car is back. You can still utilize it. Sure, your archers, your Jugunu, they're going to take a quick little break after hopping out of the ram, but you can still put up so much pressure on those manners from your opponent. It's one of the reasons why I think Juji is probably like one of the best civilizations to pick up against the House of Lancaster here. Our civilizations are going to be coming in. China and Japan for Elyona, so are going to be seeing a Japan Knight civilization pick here as well. Looking at the maps, I want to say like HRE or China could be used in Frisian Marshes, and then Dry Arabia is kind of like free-for-all House of Lancaster. Dry River could also be like a pretty free-for-all, and French at the end there for SAS. So yeah, both overall pretty good civilization picks, I want to say. But Knights Templar definitely jumps at me here as like the favorite civilization, I want to say, just due to having a hybrid map.
Now, my question is basically, even though you have Knights Templar for your Dry River, is there anything Elyona can whip out of the hat to shut them down? Because I know a lot of pro players have said, no, KT, they win every time. Doesn't matter what you do. Do you think that there is something in Elyona's pack of cards that he could whip out here that does have a chance?
HRE. HRE is like one of those civilizations where they have enough early economy where they can weather the storm of the like hybrid water and land economy from the Knights Templar. maybe with like a Dark Age barracks and just the additional movement speed. But instead, we are going to be seeing China here coming in on Drive River. Now, Chinese stocks, they do get a little bit bonus production speed on them, but it's still, it kind of pales in comparison to the bonus that you get as a Knights Templar. So, yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one, to say the least.
Well, picking China here, I think a lot of players still looking for some answers against something like KT. So it's something that I think we will now see that interaction. Where am I supposed to pull back? What am I supposed to do against them? Is there a way that I can actually deny what they're doing? So looking at his draft, China does feel like one of the strong civs, but he's got pretty strong civs no matter what. We actually have a pretty stacked side for both of them. And considering he still has Frisian Marshes and Dry Arabia, on which all of those civilizations could be doing well, he probably just feels like, let's give this a go and see how it rolls. But Sassy is the kind of man who sometimes does like to overinvest in harassment. So thinking about the player's playstyle, I do think that Sassy can make some mistakes that could lead to him maybe overcommitting, losing too many units, or being too confident in the civilization pick. So every player has some things that they have their weaknesses in. I just don't know what that is for Elyona. And I think you might be the one who can point that out.
I think Elyona can be very much overcommitting at times. It's I want to say like both these players tend to have very similar strengths. Like the playstyles are just very similar between SAS and Elyona. They're pretty straightforward with their playstyle, very meta oriented. They just want to go for the aggression. They don't like playing like these long games. They're going to go for very honest, very straightforward strategies, trying to just be more efficient with the unit mass, trying to get more raids in, and that kind of play style there. So it's going to be a very, I want to say, like skill-oriented matchup here between the two, who can like do more damage, get more raids in, be more attentive to their own economy, mass up more units. I don't think there's going to be like any sneaky shenanigans, any like hidden plays that will come out. It's just going to be plain old meta gameplay from the two and trying to make the best out of it. But yeah, my personal opinion here is that Knights Templar, just on these hybrid maps, they are just so efficient, just getting bonus food out of your lumber, like your woodcutters, and also just not needing lumber camps. It just boosts up the efficiency through the roof, means that you're going to be very easily able to reach a very nice age up timing, even though you went out onto the ponds, which typically delays your age up timing a little bit, but it's still going to hit a good age up timing. And if your opponent tries to harass you, well, you're very much incentivized to still invest into spearmen while expanding your economy on water, meaning that you'll be able to hold on land while still boosting up your economy.
Again, back of cards, and it just seems like they've got all the options and they have all the cards they get to pull. Now, when I look at the rest of the draft, because you guys can see, we're still waiting for the lobby to be created, so this might be a little bit of a wait here. I would like to know a little bit about Frisian Marshes, because I'm Twitch chat in this case. Guys, I'm doing this on behalf of you, so don't worry. I'm asking on behalf of all of us. When we see something like Frisian Marshes in a draft, is this something where the Knight civilizations actually, like French, for example, they do have a pretty good time? Because as I remember French being a pretty strong pick on these, but I do know that the map has been reworked.
Yeah, so the French are still very strong on Frisian Masters. You don't really have the option of just going for the trade boom, or at least not as easy of an option of going for the trade boom with the Chamber of Commerce, because the market has been pushed into the middle. At the same time, I do believe that the overall sheep count has been reduced a little bit, so that kind of plays in a role there as well. But still, like with the French, just being able to take map control with your early knights, and there on out, just taking map control in general on a map like Frisian Marshes is so important, because there are a ton of resources out on the map in these ponds, the deer, the boar in the middle. You can truly just make the most out of it. You can delay your farm transition for a very long time. And in those situations, just having access to early knights, it pays dividends. It pays dividends incredibly well. being able to take that map control, harassing your opponent on the sides, keeping them on their side of the map. And French, they got this ticking time bomb with the guild hall potentially, where at any one point in time, they can take out that food, they can get that red palace up, and as soon as that red palace is in, you've got those emplacements inside your TC, inside of your keeps. It means no more easy raiding. Either you commit in my base to kill villagers, or you just lose troops for free to me. And when those situations happen, where the red palace comes in, and you don't have like enough units to dive a TC, let alone dive a red palace. Let's not even talk about that. That's completely out of the question. It is incredibly tough to finish the game in Castle Age. Like, you will need Imperial Age at that time.
Yeah, the whole point of this map for me especially is that you have a lot of play styles you can go for to make it work. Especially with Zushi, we've seen recently a little bit of a monk shenanigan going on, especially on Frisian, and where they go for a very different landmark for Zushi in Castle, which just means that you're going to be making monks that generate gold, and it does open up a very big, what is that thing called? Like a rat's nest of what the game could turn into. And I feel like with these current drafts that we have here and the maps in front of us, because both of these players can play almost every civilization on these maps, it's going to be really hard to predict and actually counterpick one another. So, guys, it looks like it's almost time for Dry River. So we'll see who goes for water and who goes for the straight up little bit of land. Yesterday, I actually saw a few of the games that went a little bit for water and another person just going for the straight up land aggression, because again, we just don't have a clear path of what is the exact right or best way to go about this just yet, at least.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be an interesting one at the end of the day still. Knights Templar are just such a powerhouse on water, but China, they're also a king civilization when it comes to economy, and we're going to be jumping right into it. Game number 1 between SAS and Elyona now coming in.
I love that sheep bell whenever we log in. It's beautiful. So, ladies and gentlemen, Sassy here in red. He's going to try and ensure that Elyona after this is dead. But with a villager moving forward, he's going to be dropping that dock. And let's see what Elyona will do to stop. I don't know. I was trying to rhyme there, but I kind of lost it there by the end.
Looks like Elyona is just going to go for the pretty much default opening at the moment with the Chinese that we see most of the time, the no IO opening here. Honestly, I think in like these water situations, something that is still very much a thing that you can pull off is to like go for a Barbican in the middle. Like, you drop a Barbican in the middle, you kind of deny like 2 ponds at the same time almost. And yeah, if SAS goes for like the 2 ponds right next to each other, that could already like be a pretty big win for Elyona, just shutting down a very large investment with relative ease as well. But don't think that that's going to be a strategy that we'll see here from him.
Now, with Sassy on the Knights Templar, we'll see how many docks he goes for. You know, this makes watching Knights Templar, it always gets me, because every time I'm like, oh wow, those villagers are really chopping wood quite far away. But no, these guys are just having a good day, because they don't need that good old lumber camp. They can just keep chopping. So we'll see if that extra dock investment will come through. We've been seeing 3 fishing ships on every single pond, and if that is going to be the way forward. But Elyona, he's creeping towards feudal already, and we'll see if that Song Dynasty does get chosen. I like your idea about the whole putting a Barbican in the middle. It does feel like it can provide that little bit of a shutdown that you need to stop KT and just give them a very inactive dock by the end of it. But it does also feel like a very heavy investment for someone to just be able to run around and then go and harass you in your base, knowing you've spent that extra bit of resources to get into the Song Dynasty.
Yeah, especially since Elyona did opt to go for the no AO opening, means that he is going to be very much incentivized to open up with the Imperial Academy, and that is going to be the landmark that we will see coming out here from. Elyona does have a pretty decent sheep haul here at the moment behind him. SAS didn't actually get as many sheep, but does have the ponds going for him, so it's a little bit of a trade-off here at this point in time. Just means that he's got to be careful because he does not want to have to fall back on the sheep, because they're going to expire quickly with just how few he's got. But yeah, the wood gathering just being incredibly efficient here for the Knights Templar. It's alien technology, honestly. Just beaming the wood across, like straight from the tree into your lumber camps.
Now, that was pretty interesting for me as well, because it feels like Sassy realized that, hey, I could afford a second dock. Realistically, I could go and make a second dock, get more fish, but the safer play would probably be to get a barracks. And this feels like a very responsible move by him. So not overcommitting onto water, ensuring he's got that little bit of food eco boost, while at the same time being able to do a bit of pressure. Now, you guys know this is China, and China does not mind too much if someone does a little bit of harassment towards the gold, because they've got taxes, and you guys know taxes, they'll feed a whole empire. Now, we'll see what the spearman does see. He sees a lot of sheep coming from Elyona, and he's going straight for that gold at the back.
Yeah, that's one of the weaknesses of China when they go for the no IO opening, is that they don't like immediately have enough gold for a job if they get pulled off. But because SAS went for the dock first, the timing actually doesn't quite like matter as much here. Elyona, he is not really gonna receive too much of delay here. I'm not exactly sure what Elyona is gonna try and go for at the moment, whether this is an attempt to transition into pro scouts eventually here. He is gonna, however, have to delay that plan if that was the case, just because of these spearmen now harassing his gold vein, but also a little bit of a denial here on any potential deer luring. And if we do see pro scouts, gonna be like significantly late now. Eventually, Elyona will have enough gold for it, though, as he does get the double tax income at the moment just from all of these buildings inside the influence of the Imperial Academy.
Now, we'll see what Sassy looks like. He's putting that extra dock, so he does want to capitalize on every little thing that he can. Kingdom of France coming through now, and we've seen this from the previous games. That mobility is so strong. Elyona now going with archers as his opening move instead will be able to stop these spearmen from running amok. But when you have Kingdom of France, your main composition is usually not a bunch of spearmen.
Yeah, now the Chevalier actually aren't like the strongest knight unit at the end of the day. They are pretty good in mass, but they do like one pierce armor compared to their knight counterparts. So that's the sort of point where like mass archers actually still able to take relatively decent trades up against them. I'm wondering if Elyona wants to go for like this mass archer play, though. I'm not quite sure. He is banking up a good couple of resources now behind this. Could also potentially go for a Song Dynasty play here. Wouldn't surprise me too much. And I mean, there is still a great spot for the Barbican, but I doubt that he's going to go for it. No, it looks more like he wants to go for the Pro Scout play.
Oh, yes. And getting those Pro Scouts is going to be so valuable. But now we'll see how this matches up to fishing. Because with Pro Scouts, you have a lot of food, right? Oh, no Pro Scouts, he says. Actually, this is just going to be a bunch of horsemen. Crackety, I think he got us good here with the horsemen. He's going to be able to raid a lot, put that pressure down, that mobility that he needs. And that was my big question. If he does decide to go for Pro Scouts, would it still be worth it, considering that your opponent gets those extra fishing ships to try and get the food? While Pro Scouts, you still have to put your villagers to work. So it just doesn't feel like it gives that same level of benefit as having the water. So instead, the man just goes for the unthinkable. A lot of mobility, a lot of horses, and we'll see if he finds some damage.
There are a couple of points to raid at the moment, namely the wood line from SAS, because the villagers already chopped quite far into that one, so a good portion of that is outside of the TC range. The gold vein as well is something that could be harassed here. It's a difficult call, honestly, to make at this point in time. SAS, he's actually gathering a good amount of gold, so he will want to heavily invest into the Chevalier now at this point in time from the looks of it. And even a third pond now being docked on, so the food economy behind this is just escalating more and more at this point in time. With even military count, I can't help but feel like, oh, we are going to be getting that Song Dynasty Barbican here. And yeah, Elyona is gonna try to deny at least one of the pawns here. We do have an archer ship, though. Oh, no. Oh, no. Another villager goes down. Another one. Yeah, it gets cancelled. That was a disaster in the making there for Elyona. Losing 2 villagers. Make that 3 even total that he did end up losing there. Man, that hurts so much. I think maybe if he just went from the other side, in between the 2 ponds, where there's one pond where there isn't a single Archer ship in. Another 2 villagers went down. 6 villagers total lost at the moment. Elyona, he just took crippling damage. And he got caught out when he tried to go on the pond as well. Oh my god, this is a dreadful position now at the moment for Elyona to be in. Did not manage to get the Barbican up. Lost a lot of his own economy instead. What's the plan gonna be now? He is still gonna opt for the Barbican. Is gonna be able to secure the deer as well as 2 ponds with it. But he is now in a position where he's firmly behind. And SAS, what is he doing? He's doubling down. 2 more stables coming in here for the Chevalier. Army production.
This is going to be absolutely disgusting for Sassy. He is going to have so many resources. We see Elyona now going for his own little dock there, trying to get a little bit of food as he has fallen behind now. The problem is 6 villages down when he already had the Civ disadvantage makes this feel close to impossible. Now, it does look like he is going to be able to hold tight for a little while because, of course, China does have Song Dynasty now. The villager production will be a little bit better. But the problem is Sassy's army is starting to get quite scary and he's getting +1 ranged defense right now. That usually spells one big thing. And that means he's going to go for it. You have a tower? That's fine. You have a Barbican? That's fine too. I'm just gonna go for it. Especially considering that there are 7 archers on the side of Elyona. It doesn't feel like Sassy is too scared.
Yeah, I agree. Elyona has also added in at least a couple of spearmen though, so we'll have an answer to the Chevalier here at the moment from SAS, but SAS also adding in his own mass archers, and yeah, I mean, archer is a very good unit if you do have a ton of wood income, which luckily, SAS, with the Knights Templar, does indeed have. We're also seeing the Pilgrim Pilgrimage coming in now, the Pilgrim Passage. So SAS is now starting to receive some passive gold income whenever these pilgrims manage to connect to those sacred sites. And yeah, also moving out to deer. Yeah, I mean, SAS, he's just got all the options at the moment. He's got full control.
And those are in a very good position as well. They get to go through a very, very safe sacred site. There's a boat next to it, ensuring a little bit of a poke if any of the units poke their head in. And a villager does get picked up. Elyona now picking up 2 of these. He definitely feels happy with those pickups, but there needs to be a lot more damage out of this. Now, Sassy has stopped making units, though. And to me, that spells a little bit of danger. Now getting his survival techniques as well, just ensuring that those deer give even more food, or faster food, for the man. But with no units in queue, I'm expecting Sassy to be very confident going into castle and then trying to make something work. Because of course, you don't want to sacrifice too many units when you start charging in. And Feudal Age Spearmen, where Elyona might be stuck for a while, is not going to be able to handle these Castle Age units from the Knights Templar.
Yeah. Looks like Elyona was at least able to catch up in the overall economy count. Just efficiency-wise, you never really want to be on the same count as Knights Templar, as they do also have those pilgrims generating gold here for them. Also just more efficient woodline gathering. He is in Song Dynasty, so scaling-wise, he is going to start pulling more and more ahead. But yeah, SAS is already about to be able to trigger the age up. Elyona not too far behind, though, I want to say.
Now, Elyona does make it look like he is considering... Oh, no, definitely not just considering. He's going for it. But the question is, does what he has in his pocket actually secure him a pretty safe passage into castle? We do see a few now being picked up or clicked up, and now getting another military ship on the water to ensure that those fishing boats can have a good day. Now, beautiful raids here still by Sassy. Just getting that idle time delays him just that bit more, because Republic of Genoa is only 20 seconds away. And Sassy has a lot of archers to handle these spears that Elyona has opted for.
If only Chinese had a way of rushing their age up as well. Oh wait, they already rushed it up. Oh, more raids coming in though. Wrong timing for Elyona. He's gonna lose 1 villager. Could be worse, but still is gonna hurt him in this timing, because as soon as the age up comes through for him, he's gonna want to get as much gold as possible for the upgrades.
That's the problem now. You are in a position where your gold's denied, and yes, you get to age up, but you're not going to get any upgrades alongside that age up. You are firmly going to be waiting and lagging behind just because you cannot afford anything. Now, there should be a few taxes lying around, but those horsemen, they're trying to find some damage. And Elyona, it feels like he is just trying to keep Sassy in his base for as long as possible, so it gives him the time. Now, the horses from Sassy, they've been doing amazing work, and a few villager will get picked off. So Elyona, probably pretty happy with this, but now the relic plays have begun. And we'll see if Elyona has the ability to pick any of those up too.
Yeah, he's already started queuing the monk before SAS even has, and with the supervision, he's going to have the ability to get them out super, super quickly here as well. I'm just wondering, because SAS, like, he's not letting up, he is still on the aggression, he is moving around actively on the map. How many relics, at the end of the day, Elyona can realistically pick up here?
The map control with all these units from Sassy will make that close to impossible. Maybe the one in front of the Barbican, but oh no, there are tons of archers just standing confidently taking some barbecue shots. Because, you know, who doesn't like a good barbecue on a Sunday? If you've the poor little fishing boats also going down now from Elyona. This was his economy, his extra bit that he needed. And there are still red blobs running around everywhere, just picking up anyone out of position. But the spearmen, they do get a good horse barbecue for themselves. So, meat for all, they say.
Yeah, without the fishing ships there to repair the archer ship, it does actually go down rather quickly to the archers from SAS. Able to do a good amount of damage, able to pick off 3 archers there with a last shot as well, basically paying off for itself as well. So tends to be a pretty decent trade. We are going to see mass lances coming out from Elyona at the moment.
Sassy floating a lot of food as well. He just doesn't have anything he gets to spend it on. Now, that poor little archer, he does get saved by the Woolalaw, a little bit wounded, but will be making it out to the next day. And this type of harassment is the thing that hurts, because Elyona, he has a pretty solid food income. But the question is for how long? These fish keep getting denied, they keep getting picked off, and now Elyona still needs something to get himself ahead. He is ahead in villagers, but the economy speaks a very, very different, or tells us a very different story. Sassy is just making units, he's floating some resources because he can. And Relic does get picked off, but so will that poor little unit.
Elyona not quite able to hop in time in the Barbican, so Monk is actually going to be able to make it out alive there with that relic. So SAS might find himself in a position where he could get 4 out of the 5 relics, as he does still have a unit patrolling around the relic on the side from Elyona there as well.
Yeah, this feels like something that Sassy has set himself up for in success here. And you can also see the Pilgrims, they're feeling a little bit more confident moving out to the other side of the map, trying to get that max amount of gold. But Sassy needs to ensure that he has something to handle those heavy set of spears. 31 archers is a pretty good answer, though. So it does feel like Elyona, he is ahead in villagers. He is China, but is he going to be able to hold this next push that is going to come from Sassy? Sassy now getting his last bit of upgrades that he needs to start diving and actually doing some real work. We see a lot of horses heading the way, and unfortunately, more gold will be denied. So it does slow Elyona down quite a bit.
Yeah, looks like there are going to be some Imperial officials here also going to be going down over on the side from Elyona. Nice pickoffs there. It's going to slow down the tax gathering and also just costing roughly 100 resources for Elyona to replenish those Imperial official numbers. Ooh. Big pickoff there, though, from Elyona. He's going to be able to find some villagers there with his own lancers. Maybe even kill the villager there as he's trying to retreat, not getting that one in. Oh, but it has to be so careful. SAS is very active at the moment when it comes to the raiding.
Sassy, he's in his comfortable place here, right? Just, destroying them. 15 dead villagers total now. This feels like Sassy's happy place. He's someone who loves to just send those night packs around, and he's going to know about that gold that they're now going on. He does lose a few of these nights, but the problem is there's a lot more. And now a little wall being invested in by Elyona. He's going to be able to try and protect that gold that keeps getting raided. But if you guys saw earlier, he doesn't need to run around. He's just going to go right next to the wood line and go for yet another one. Now, Sassy is ready. He's getting 2 trebuchets behind this as well. And that's how you know that he feels pretty confident about his spot, possibly going to go and try to get rid of that Barbican, because we see a big clump of red there as well, and another Vil going down. Disgusting.
Disgusting. SAS. We're now seeing trebuchets coming out from him. He's going to want to start sieging down the infrastructure from Elyona. Wants to start sieging down that Barbican and those docks on the ponds there as well. Elyona trying to go for some raids, but might be able to find some villager kills here. A couple do go down. It doesn't really quite make up for it. 4 relics here at the moment from SAS. Also a great spot for Fortress. He's got 2,000 gold in the bank at the moment, just thanks to all of those relics, those pilgrims as well, making their way to the sacred sites time and time again. Having sacred sites captured in as well, so 200 gold passively per minute coming in there. And look at those trebuchets. Knights Templar trebuchets, not just firing 1 projectile, but 2, maybe even 3 with an additional upgrade.
That feels like such a tough position to be in, because you know those trebuchets are just going to be able to hammer away at every single building you have, and you need a lot of mobility to actually get on top of them. But we can see the composition from Sassy, quite diverse. He's ready for anything that Elyona puts on offer, and Elyona, 2,200 gold in the bank now, most likely going to be trying to get that spent in another way, because the food is looking so dire for him. So getting all of that gold is great in the bank, but he needs to find a way to spend it, and he needs to find a way now. Because Sassy, he's just going to keep on pushing forward. We see that big red blob now pushing towards the Barbican side, going to be shutting down that last little bit of fishing boats on there. And just look at that. Double shots destroying. But now the problem is, he's just going to keep that push going. And once he does, Elyona is going to have absolutely no way of shutting this down.
Yeah, he is currently just massing a lot of horsemen, which are nice against the majority of the units from SAS. He's mostly got archers, crossbows, some Genoese crossbows, some men-at-arms in here and there as well, some mangonels, but the economy behind it all, it just feels so much stronger for SAS, at least in like the gold department. Would Elyona, like, he's doing a farm transition at the moment as well. And we talked about the Swammen. Farm transitions, that's where China usually starts to look not so good, at least for a couple of minutes until the farms really start picking off.
It does feel like that farm transition slowdown is definitely going to give Sassy the opening he needs as well, because Sassy's farm transition was already en route. And now with all that wood he has in the bank, he's probably feeling pretty safe to do so. We see now Elyona, he's got a few farms around there, but the problem is there are horses from Sassy who know about this.
Just a couple of horses. They're going to cause a lot of idle time there. Also going to force back a little bit of the military from Elyona to try and clean those up. And just overall being very annoying, keeping your opponent on their toes. Behind the SAS element, 1,200 food, Elyona at 500 food per minute. Should be going up significantly as those villagers now start gathering food from those very efficient granary rice fields there. they can't see each other. El no Saba. Whammon, El no Saba. They don't know.
He's going to sneak into the farms pretty soon, Crackety. And now there's a big raid of horses sneaking in. They do spot him now as he pokes out his head, and he's going to go straight for, I was going to say a kill, but instead he just goes and gets ready to die.
Templar Brothers do have a good bit more HP and damage compared to normal Lancers, but not going to be enough when there's 2 of them and a crossbow helping out there as well. Landmark victory approaching, that's not typically something that we see realistically happen up against the Chinese, just because they get so many landmarks in. And finally, the farm, the food income does look up now for Elyona. He's also been mostly just producing horsemen and spearmen, so the gold has started to go up quite highly now at this point in time, just because you're not spending it, so taxes, they're going to do their thing. But the infrastructure going down, that's going to hurt him heavily. Elyona, he just invested so much wood into farms. He doesn't really have the resources to rebuild all of these buildings.
And Sassy is just playing this safe. He is not moving his siege too far away from his units. He realizes, I can only lose if I overstep, if I make a mistake, if I overcommit. And this is a very slow and steady play that he feels comfortable with right now. We do see with all the units he has in his army, he gets to switch out to men-at-arms because those are going to be so hard to handle when they start getting onto the farms as well. Yes, Elyona does have a bunch of crossbows, but the problem is, with the diversity and just the sheer amount of units Sassy has, it doesn't feel like a direct counter can do much. The problem is Elyona doesn't have anything that he can pull out that can handle the size of an army. Now, the Lancers, that is probably a good starting point, but apparently there's going to be a front collapse here. He does try to split up this army, and that's a pretty big part of Sassy's army chasing.
It is, but there are a lot of mangonels here in the middle as well. Springled also helping up against these spearmen. Mangonel's just doing so much damage here to the backline. Horsemen not really able to find the connection onto the backline. Instead, they're getting stuck on the men-at-arms, on the knights at the front as well. Elyona, he just lost his entire military force. And there's just no way to stop what's coming in next. GG comes in. SAS gonna be able to win game number 1 on Dry River.
It feels like that was the only opportunity for him to win a fight, knowing he split them up, but he did his best. I mean, when you are up against KT, that's all you can do. Give it your best. You can see Sassy, with all the resources, he just got so much more than Elyona. And that military value lead, it showed the story of KT. Once that economy is happy and healthy, it will just keep booming.
I think a lot of it also just came down to that big villager loss here that we did see 7.5 minutes into the game. Losing 6 villagers there, it just puts you so far behind. There's a big gap between the economy from SAS and Elyona now at that point in time. Now, Song Dynasty did manage to help Elyona recover, at least long term, but yeah, when you're already behind, like, recovering is not going to be enough when you're up against a civilization that does have a pretty good advantage up against you in those situations. And now, next up, we are going to be seeing Frisian Marshes. And, I mean, we saw SAS already play French on Frisian Marshes yesterday, beating Valdemar in a set 2-1. And now he's going to pull them out again. And, yeah, we're going to see them up against the House of Lancaster next.
And that is going to be a pretty solid matchup, I can imagine. We now see, with French being one of the picks, I'm actually pretty excited to see that type of raiding and harassment coming out. Because Sassy, he loves his French, and we'll see how hard he can make it work. Although Lancaster, as we saw earlier, they are also pretty good at just sitting back and not allowing the French to do anything. We did see this with JD, but I feel like French, it will have a little bit more power and force you to do something about it, because they do have those extra villagers that come on through. So with the faster villager production speed, it doesn't feel as much like a ticking time bomb when you're playing against Lancaster. You don't feel like, oh, I need to go and do damage right now. You'll find the damage. You just need not necessarily the time, but you do need a timing to make it work. So I don't know. I think this is definitely, for French, it's probably pretty good because you get to be out on the map. You enjoy being out on the map. And this is where they are definitely going to be able to shine. Also, Elyona is French. He's playing against French. That's already like 2 negatives. You know, this is already a problem.
That means that he knows the Civ, though. He knows the Civ. He's got the home advantage there, so to say. I mean, House of Lancaster, it's an interesting one because, like, in theory, like, we've seen House of Lancaster go for, like, these fast Imperial Age timings time and time again with the Wingard, and then just pumping out a huge, obscene amount of spearmen very, very quickly. French, they like to accompany their knights with archers, so they will immediately have answers to the spearmen. And they're not going to be too far off from their own Imperial Age play, just courtesy of that guild hall, just providing you with so much resources there, like this big trickle of resource in the back that always just keeps growing, and eventually you'll be able to just immediately click that age up at a certain point. It's an interesting matchup I want to see, definitely not one that we see quite often. Something to also keep in mind is that the castle, the Lancaster Castle, and the manors, they aren't buildings that you can garrison in, so night raids are still definitely something that you will have to watch out for. The little trickle of arrow fire can be healed away with chivalry, so you can't just go for a completely naked, boomy type play with the House of Lancaster in this matchup.
Exactly. There's no JD who's going to be dying to arrow fire. And I do see in Twitch chat French against Lancaster doesn't feel good at all. Yes, in theory, because they pump out a million spears. They can go for upgrades that will make them do even more damage to armored units. However, if you do decide to go for the King's College, things get a little bit hairy because now all of a sudden you do not have a big building to protect your villagers when those knights do decide to dive you. And I think this is probably the strength of French. That early castle, when you've just clicked it up, that's where French is most likely going to be able to do their most damage because they get to dive. They get their upgrades pretty quickly as well. And once those chunky knights are on your base, it's so hard to get rid of them. So it does feel like they have the answers needed, at least in early castle and mid castle. But after that, yes, I do feel like Lancaster sits in a pretty good spot if they did not die to French by then.
I gotta say, I kind of disagree a little bit, mainly because French are a civilization where, sure, at first glance, it doesn't look like they've got great late-game bonuses, but it actually starts to really compile on, because you get the guild hall. That's already like 500 resource per minute-ish that you're getting out of that. That's roughly 10, 12 villagers that you're getting there economy-wise. So you got a pretty decent economy, you can put on gold, and on top of that, probably by far the best meat grinder civilization in the game, because the horsemen that you produce with the discount with the keeps, a lot of HP thanks to Royal Bloodlines, the most HP horsemen that you can get in the game, and 90 resources per horseman. It is such an incredibly cheap unit to reinforce as a frontline. Compare that with the Arbaletria, one of the best just backline units that you can have in the game. Cannons as well, very, very strong siege that you get. Rebaldicans potentially. It makes French actually one of the hardest civilizations to take down in Imperial Age.
Crackety, you've just convinced me to try French. Thank you. Yes, I cannot even. Now that you've painted the picture of the perfect late game composition, I can see how this would be a little bit too much for Lancaster to handle. So yes, that is interesting. And guys, this is why Crackety is so good at this damn video game, and not all of us can be, but just imagine. Okay, so yes, French, it does feel like they're in a pretty good spot as a pick then. Now, Elyona, Lancaster still has this very strong timing they get to do. There are these very critical moments where they just pull out things that you possibly cannot be ready for at the right moments, especially as French. If you do overcommit, which is what we talked about before, is we saw this with Elyona and Sassy. Both of these players, they do sometimes extend a little bit far. So we might need to see if Sassy can hold back and be confident but stable in his pushes like we saw from the last game. But Elyona, he has a lot more cards he gets to pull out compared to what he had in the previous one, especially with Muster the Nobles, and you just get to have such a little bit of a power spike. We'll see how that matches up against the Knights, though. So, yeah, this is, guys, it's time for the game.
All right, and we're jumping up in right away. Oh, yeah. Oh yeah. It's time for the Dark Age Barracks, but look at SAS the Scout. He spots it immediately. He went straight in looking for that, and he does see that there is a little building that you don't see too often in the Dark Age, and we immediately have SAS sending villagers out to wood. This is going to be an outpost defense from him.
Oh, interesting. And Sassy being able to do something like this is going to ensure that spearman situation doesn't become a real problem. Now, Crackety, what was that outpost that you talked about earlier? What was that thing's name?
That was the pressure outpost, but this is actually a functional outpost because villagers don't have to walk 3,000 miles in order to jump into it.
Okay, so he's actually going to get the value out of this. But with the spearman being this close, he is going to be able to poke his head a few times, but pulling a few more vills should not be too costly here. Now, the thing is, Elyona investing in 3 spears, probably pretty good here for SAS if he does not take any damage. The thing is, though, that spearman, he is blasting away. We do see those 3 villagers now building this, trying to get it up as quickly as possible. He does respect the spearman, though, and we do see him pulling back just a little bit. Second spearman is going to make this a lot harder now, though, and that villager is getting dangerously low.
Yeah, he's gonna have to pull back. Villagers are pulling their shifts, but they aren't too confident in that fight, so are gonna have to retreat here. And oh, that villager, oh, he's getting dangerously low. Survives, though, with a slither of health remaining. Elyona, he's actually gathered up more wood behind this, which makes me believe that he's gonna follow this up with an outpost of his own, potentially.
Let's go see if there's any sneaky vills following suit. It looks like he's keeping it in his base for now. Now, getting an outpost, do you mean it would be worth it for him to get it in his base?
No, in next to the gold from SAS, because if you can't, like, if your opponent just gets an outpost on their gold, you just send a villager forward, get your own outpost in, and that way, like, you don't have to wait for a blacksmith, don't have to wait for siege engineering, and then the ram to be made, and eventually Ramjas is gonna get harassed as well. Ooh, look at that Chamber of Commerce. We're gonna be trading today, Whammon.
Crackety? The Chamber of Commerce was not on my bingo card. Twitch chat, I don't know if it was on yours, but this is some shenanigans. Now, Chamber of Commerce just puts you in such an interesting position because now you all of a sudden have the opportunity to just snowball. The thing is, Elyona does have the cards, again, to be able to shut down a trade pretty quickly. So, Sassy now, this means that Sassy is going to get some nice upgrades, going to get those free traders, and we'll see if Elyona actually scouts this. The thing is, he's probably going to be warned the moment there are no knights in his base.
Yeah, but let's see that Elyona looks like he also wants to lure in the deer there. Lancaster Castle on its way for him as well. I mean, it's always something that you have to potentially anticipate, the Chamber of Commerce, just because on this map, it is a very, very good landmark to get overall. Granted, though, with the changes to the trade, it might be that Elyona doesn't actually expect it to come in, because we do have the market in the middle of the map here. Look at SAS. He's really trying to deny that deer luring from coming in. He's going to make it very, very difficult here. Scout is low in health, though, so he's going to have to pay close attention if he doesn't want that scout to go down to these spearmen.
Now, Elyona is scouting. I think the fact that he's scouting this much means that he's like, where is, your landmark? I haven't seen it. This feels weird. Is it maybe on the other side? And him seeing this now is going to make this a very, very different experience. Yeah, the fact that he did not go in blindly. Elyona, very methodical as well. Absolutely love the fact that he's being very aware of these things too. Now we'll see how much he invests in here on the stone, because getting that huge amount of stone and getting your manors is great, right? But if your opponent is trading behind it, I don't know if the manors are going to be paying off just as much. But now forestry, this, ladies and gentlemen, is the only time you will see someone click up forestry, because that upgrade is only useful for getting you a free trader from that landmark.
It's the classic old buy two, get one free. It's a very, very effective marketing strategy, and it's working here. Forestry actually getting research. We're also seeing all the other upgrades coming in. SAS already prepping in his own archer range, because he did see spearmen and just wants to make sure that he will at least have some answer to those in order to protect his trade. Behind this, first manor is now coming in for Elyona, and the question is, how many manors are we going to see from him? I would personally expect just 3, maybe 6 at most, then into Castle Age, because College of King's College and then Call of Essos is just going to be very, very strong when you're up against an army composition from the French with just knights and archers. Getting that +6 damage in against the knights, it just makes you scale incredibly well in those fights.
Now, getting those archers out with the traders is going to be critical, but luckily Elyona foresaw this. He's not going to be sacrificing those spearmen to just try and get some damage done on them. Look at that beautiful little trader. He's just carrying the gold to victory, and it does look like this is going to be a very uncontested one. Look at that beautiful little banner around the neck. See, that's a beautiful little trader. The French, they have style. They've got gold.
It's the fashion.
Traders.
fashion statement.
Sassy does strike me as a fashionable kind of guy. So the French civilization does really suit him. Now he is a knight in queue, but ladies, let us look at a spot where that could possibly be utilized, because to me that looks like a lot of stone crackety. This man, he's going to be teaching Sassy some manners, he believes. So that's a lot of manners, or a lot of stone for possibly a lot of manners.
Yeah, already have SAS as well moving out on the map. He does have wheelbarrow, so is going to be very efficient about that. Upgrade is now coming in to be able to get a couple more manners in. No outpost at the moment on the gold from Elyona, so I think he might just want to switch over to the other gold that is going to be protected by the Lancaster Castle as well as the surrounding manors here. But he's got to be very, very careful how he wants to go about it. If he just puts the manors too far forward, those archers could just step up and snipe a villager or two.
The problem is with the gold being denied here, and yes, like you said, that gold, it is protected, but if he gets sniped, that is probably going to snowball pretty quickly. The thing is, Sassy already 8 villages ahead. I know some of these are traders too, but every single upgrade he gets just puts him that much further ahead, right? And Sassy, he's using this. You can see him already diving. The problem is you've got a knight, and that knight, it doesn't mind taking a little bit of fire. Picking up a scout just means that Elyona is not going to know what is next. Elyona is never going to be able to find out how much trade is actually coming in, and chivalry is being upgraded now. So these knights are going to be able to go in, harass, get a kill, get out, and come back to safety. Now with him being forced onto this gold as well, he's just stuck in a no upgrade zone because those knights are going to constantly be harassing.
We're also getting Yeoman in now for Elyona, so he's going to get forced into an archer play here of his own. Yeoman at least are going to do quite well up against the archers from SAS. Gonna have to be very careful though, because they are incredibly expensive to mass up, and we do have the first knight going down here. Good play by Elyona, having his spearman in position, but yeah, this is a little bit of a scaling difference type game, because we do have on one side, of course, the manors coming in for Elyona. He's about to have his 6th manor up as well. On the other side, SAS, he does have the trade going for him, and he is already getting a good amount of resource and could actually soon just follow us up with a castle age play.
Yeah, that's the wonderful part of having these options, right? He can just keep massing these knights, and that's exactly what he's doing. But if he decides, hey, I cannot break through all these manors, I will just go for castle, and then we'll see how these Royal Institute knights are going to be doing under those manors. And I'm assuming he feels pretty confident about the abilities of those. He's getting more archers, getting more knights every single time he can afford them, and now getting undermesh as well. So, to me, this spells an aggressive Sassy moving out.
Definitely has the capabilities to be so. But we are getting the Muster Nobles in now as well. That is going to be 8 Demi-Lancers coming in for Elyona. That's a pretty big tempo play there for him. He's going to lose a couple of spearmen though. Has to be very, very careful here. We do have that little brace bait coming in there with the knights. Just charging a little bit and then being like, they're kind of behaving like the Elden Ring bosses and just baiting you, and baiting you again, and the second you're like, okay, yeah, he's not gonna charge, that's when the attack hits.
Now, those villagers are snacking away at the gold, and with the musters with the nobles mustered now, they are going to be able to have a lot of them on top of these knights. And the thing is, this is probably one of those fights where he probably has a shot of taking it. But Sassy realizes this and he does pull away. 2 of the archers do get picked off, but now the nobles are going to need to be respected, as we do, because these guys splitting off, going to be trying to find some villagers and some traders running amok. Sassy, though, he needs to be careful not to lose too much. There are a lot of villagers out here on the map, but these horses, they are feeling a little bit too confident, because these knights, once they do get on top of them, this does feel difficult. And now all those yeomen, they are also pretty much exposed out here.
They are indeed exposed, but there are a good amount of spearmen out on the field still from Elyona, even more in queue. SAS he had the option of going up to the next age, but he did realize that in order to keep his trade safe, he needs to reinvest more into knights on his side. The Demi-Lancers are going to find some traders here to pick off. Villagers are going to have to get pulled back to TC. Looks like a couple might actually go down to this charge now from the knights, so good damage done here by SAS. Is going to be able to equalize the killed villager count in comparison to the traders that have been taken down, but doesn't want to linger around for too long, as these knights are premium unit that you do not want to just throw away.
The yeomen are starting to do quite a bit of damage here, but a few of the archers getting picked off here from Sassy. The knight is here to answer to this, and you can see him trying to fight it off. And oh my goodness, that is a disgusting amount of trading going on between these knights and these demi-lancers. There's a reason they're called demi, guys. It's basically like they're called semi-knights. They are half a knight, a mere man with a very long stick trying to do some damage. And they do get some damage to these traders, but they take a lot of damage alongside it. Oh my goodness, Crackety, I thought that fight was going to go so much better for those demi-lancers.
Yeah, without the color of Essus, they just don't pack that punch that they need up against these knights. And Saspian is just packing in a couple more knights here and there, and also Professional Scouts has just been researched. Well, man, it's not just that you get the deer inside of your base, but you're also getting another free trader. How awesome is that?
Oh, it's disgusting. I cannot imagine that level of value in a base that is already living so, or thriving so well. White Tower now coming down. This is going to mean that he does get a few extra units that Sassy might have trouble dealing with if he was any other civilization. But Knights, they don't mind the Earls Guards. They should be able to charge into them and do quite a bit of damage. Now, Sassy is getting the guild hall, so very responsible age up. Doesn't feel like he needs to overcommit into this, and like you said, after you painted that picture, Crackety, I didn't know you were such an artist, but that beautiful picture you've painted just sends me into the late game, seeing a beautiful set of horsemen running around, archers picking off, Apatlihirs, making sure that everything armored does not get close. So Sassy, he probably has a similar picture in his head, and it is gorgeous. He's ready for it, and he's ready for the late game. That White Tower, though, it does feel a little bit scary.
Oh, let's get finished. We're getting 3 Earl's Guard in immediately. Knights also getting queued up now by Elyona. No veterancy upgrades coming in behind this yet, and SAS able to go for his own age up. I'm not sure if Elyona expects the age up to come in at this point in time, mainly because he's the one on 6 manners. His economy must be awesome, right? But yeah, the traders, they've been trading, and trade is good for the economy.
And Elyona, guys, he is not just a wonderful French player, he's also a blind player right now. So House of Lancaster, being in his arsenal, he needs to be scouting, he needs to see what's going on. He does not know that this is a guild hall, and that could be a very big problem, because for him, this feels like, okay, I need to attack before these knights get their upgrades, and sure, but those aren't the knights you need to be that scared of. You do have your time, and you do have your economy. Let's go see if we can actually shut down this trade. He does get another trader, but now these archers, there is a lot of them, and they're about to get veterancy. It does look like those knights are baiting yet another brace situation, but they do get a good set of damage. The Demi-Lancers melting away because they are basically just half the power. The French knights doing some good work.
Spearmen trying their best, but they are eventually getting sniped. Spearman mass now pretty much completely thinned out. Yeah, man, they've been waiting a little bit for the veterancy upgrade. Has come in the meantime, though. Also getting +2 damage now on them. SAS is also going to retreat here. Both players, I want to say, SAS has to be very happy with how he traded out there. Elyona, not so much.
Yeah. Elyona lost a very heavy part of his army, the army that cannot be remade, and the army that was supposed to keep him on the map, giving that control. And Sassy, he is making farms. Guys, this is a 16-minute farm, French. Welcome to Shenanigans. Those are gorgeous. They're just going to produce so many knights.
Yeah, but the deer. Why aren't we gathering from the deer instead? The deer.
The deer, this is not a deer map.
Women. The
Let
deer.
them live, Crackety. Give them one map
They're
they
a
get to
deer.
live.
Okay,
They're
never mind. They
always
are
haunted.
gathering. They are gathering.
Okay,
Okay, there's
God
more
damn it.
villagers. They're hiding. There's just this big red blob, a mixture of both villagers and deer. There kind of makes me think that we're in a little bit of an alchemist situation there. But yeah, these are individual villagers gathering the deer there.
Now, getting a deer is going to be nice, but why would you want deer if you can eat fish sometimes? We know a good venison goes a long way, but fishing, guys, we've had sushi. You know how this goes, but look at those connections. The knights coming out of Elyona's base, they're all dying right there, boys. They're going to be living a very short life.
He's going to be able to pick off some traders, so tariffs are pretty much inbound now. Elyona is going to restrict the trading there. Behind that, I mean, it's still a large yeoman mass there. Sassy wasn't able to thin that out too much.
And the thing is, Sassy is not over-investing into trade. All those traders have been passive. No resources were wasted otherwise. And now those knights, ladies and gentlemen, they have their new target, that manor. Because, as we know, Elyona has too many manors right now, and Sassy is going to be manoring him instead. Oh, never mind. A knight does go down. Unfortunately, the manor will survive, and that just shows you, having good manners, it matters. Oh my god. I can't stop. Oh no.
Behind us, we do see a... I'll try. We do see a switch up into horsemen now. Veterancy coming in. More raids being found as well by that knight. Wonder how he got in. He must have been taking a different route, but the reinforcements are already there in that direction, so we'll be able to pick that one off. SAS behind us, it's not just the free traders that he has been making. He also added an additional market that he's been actively producing traders from. And that basically is like having an additional town center worth of economy behind that. So he's got the Chamber of Commerce, he's got an additional market. That is a ton of economy that he's actively gaining here. Elyona, he's been active on the relic game. The last remaining relics, though, they're on SAS' side, so they're quite difficult for him to get into his base. So SAS might actually find himself into in a 3-2 relic split here for him, while having trade up as well.
Now, Elyona, this is probably one of the first instances where we see someone sitting in Castle Age for a while, but he stopped producing units. He's making walls. Ladies and gentlemen, are we getting an Imperial Age House of Lancaster? I think he watched a few of those games where the spearmen were just unstoppable, and he's like, maybe this is my moment. But with this amount of knights at your front door, you might be thinking, maybe I do need another unit or two to keep this going. Now crossbowmen being summoned, a Warlord screaming to the skies, a knight killing dead villagers. Oh! And there's a conversion.
Your knight is my knight. We'll be sharing now, but the monk does eventually get taken down. Nice little Warlord that came in, though. Sacred Site getting decapped behind us as well as some nice villager raids here on the pond. Elyona still, I want to say, behind in economic numbers, but the income is great just due to having those 9 manors behind all of this working for him. Army value, though, SAS, he's got a solid lead.
Now, a little trader dying every now and again. Elyona doing a good job at making sure this doesn't go out of control. And when that market kicks in and the raiders start running, it is going to be something he's going to need to constantly do. But ladies and gentlemen, we have another forestry upgrade coming in from Elyona, and apparently I was wrong. It's not just China and French that gets it. Apparently, Elyona says, I need my wood to be chopped down at twice the speed. And now it's going to be Imperial. And I feel like this is a moment for Sassy where he and his own Imperial Age is going to be making a statement.
He's the one that clicks it first.
Mm-hmm. And he gets it in such a juicy spot. We see that landmark and the plan for it. It is going to be a very secure trade.
Secures the trade, also means that Sacred Site is going to be pretty much uncontestable. Wingard Palace now coming in for Elyona, though, and that Wingard Palace, you save a ton of resources on the units that you produce out of that one. It is absurd how much you save there.
Now with those spearmen, he's hoping for miracles, though, because, okay, 18 knights, they are going to be difficult to handle. But I feel like if Sassy just converts into some different units, such as the archers he already has, he's probably going to be able to deal with this for a while longer. Because looking at the resources, Elyona is not in a position where his gold is going to be lasting forever. There are only 12 traders out on the map, but 12 traders, that's a pretty significant amount. Now, we do see our Wingard coming through, and we'll see if the name accurately reflects what this game is going to go towards. Wingard, we'll see if he wins, but the Red Palace coming in pretty soon, and Sacred Side Victory is approaching. Stone Walls to match it as well. He wants this, Crackety.
Yeah, looks like SAS able to take some lessons after that Valdemar game here yesterday, up against HRE with his own French, and yeah, I mean, just able to secure these sacred sites here, very, very important. Has the other one secured by that Red Palace, and now Elyona, he's gonna have to make something happen very, very soon because the timer is ticking. Scootage is coming in as well behind this, so Elyona will have some passive gold income here as well inside of his base. Didn't manage to get that third relic in, but 2 relics here. At least a little bit of additional gold here. 160 gold per minute compared with an additional 360 gold per minute from those manners. Not a bad passive gold economy here for him.
Look at that sheep trying to get it to go back to his TC. That poor little sheep is running for his life. Luckily, no scout to yoink him along the way. Now, Sassy, what I really like about Sassy's play here is he recognizes, okay, when I go into your base, my knights are going to be running into the face of these spearmen. I don't want that. I could just sit back and let my buildings do the talking. Getting a tower here as well just ensures he knows exactly when it's coming, and he's about to see a very, very scary army. But the spearman numbers are really scary for him. 17 knights, they might not be enough to match up against this just yet, but we do see that army being split a little bit back and forth. Villagers now running around trying to get to that gold, and that's what I was talking about, guys. That gold is going to be the death of him. He is going to struggle getting gold income, and now that his villagers need to move out on the map, this becomes a lot more tricky. The knights, though, that big blob is looking for a way in, and it just doesn't look like they are finding their way. Spearmen say, "You shall not pass."
Spearman Blob has escalated quite rapidly there. Once again, we just were at 30. Suddenly we're at 42 again. Also getting the elite upgrade now on those Spearmen. More stone walls coming up as well. SAS, he's going to make this very, very difficult now for Elia behind this. Also getting a lot of the unique upgrades, further enhancing the discount that he gets on all of his units that are created in the influence of those keeps. And still on stone, so might even see more keeps here and more discounts on the units coming in.
Sassy needs to stop with these traders, because that amount of traders, it's starting to get scary and imbalanced. Poor Elyona. He's already dead, Sassy. Give him some breathing room here, because those traders are just going to skyrocket.
There it is.
You see emplacements as well.
Yeah, but not just that, we are finally getting the market upgrade as well. Unique upgrade for the French, where the traders will generate gold every couple seconds. And that actually equates to roughly, I want to say, like with 40 traders. Well, not that you get up to 40 traders, but you roughly get up to like 300 to 400 additional gold per minute from those traders. Fight is about to happen in the middle, though. Elyona has a very strong army mass here, 93 to 58. Army value isn't too far apart, and Sassy does have most of his elite upgrades in. Meanwhile, the majority of Elyona's army is not upgraded, but elite on the crossbows is just about to come in.
It feels like that Red Palace is just a little bit too off, and it's not actually hitting anything touching the sacred side. And this could be the one little opening that makes it a lot harder to stop. There were a few of those units just standing on there for free, and the Red Palace just could not reach them. So this is a pretty tough spot, but the Knights, they are looking for an opening. Archers doing amazing work and killing these spearmen. Sassy's micro looking on point, but Elyona at the same time, amazing.
And the crossbows, I mean, crossbows, historically, they always trade rather well up against archers, better than you would expect typically, as a backline at least. And here we do see Sassy, he's losing all of his knights there up against this large ball of spearmen. He's just not able to really deal with them in time. We're seeing a cannon now coming out as well, but it's just not getting microed back. It's just being sent to its death here. And now the trade's done. The trade has been stopped, interrupted. Elyona, he is in. SAS, he's got 1,800 gold in the bank. He needs to make it count. He needs to get another army in order to recapture that side there in the middle of the map. Get maybe another keep in. He still has access to the large gold veins at the very least, so gold is not going to be completely gone for him, but the majority of his income now through the trade is going to be denied from him, and he doesn't have like a great food economy behind this.
This is such a tough position for him. He's now getting royal bloodlines as well, but losing all of those knights into the spearmen. It feels like Sassy felt confident in that fight, but he just did not have the numbers to back this up. And you can see now, Elyona, he just keeps making crossbows. He saw how well those did as well. This is going to be so hard for him to handle. Now, Sassy realizes, well, with what I've got left, I need to make something happen. But we've got university upgrades from Elyona as well. And whew, you see, he's got elite army tactics coming as well. This is going to be so hard to take down these boys. But now, Sassy, he's trying. But there's just so many units at his front line. And I feel like I probably cursed Sassy by saying he's in such a good position. Where's Sassy? This army looks scary.
Yeah, behind there's some raids coming in as well from SAS, but the majority of the economy is in the form of manors. SAS did manage to take down one of those manors though, so did a little bit of a hit there to the economy from Elyona. Also potentially able to catch off reinforcement. If he's able to catch off the reinforcement, he might be able to finish off the stone wall. There isn't any siege yet from Elyona. I say that as he just tries to get out his first culvert now. But this might buy SAS just enough time that he needs in order to be able to come back here. Just get enough units out, be able to rebalance the economy yet again, get the trade going again. He still has access to both of the large gold veins, so it's not that bad of a position for him. We're also seeing incendiary arrows now coming in for him as well. With that, the archers are going to start trading very well once again.
I love that Sassy is trying to delay Elyona from going into his base, because he realizes, hey, if I let this happen, I'm going to be losing my fight. He's ensuring that he gets every bit of upgrade he can and trying to delay this, just like you said, so he gets that ideal composition. Now, a lot of horsemen in that comp, and these archers are about to shoot fire back at their enemies.
Of crossbows are being left alone. Interesting army composition here from Elyona. We got 21 crossbows and then 16 more crossbows. I'm not sure why the UI is splitting them up there. Crossbows and more crossbows, but it is a very, very strong army at the moment for him. The culverin does get sniped, and Sassy managed to finish off the walls behind us. The army is trapped.
Now, losing a big chunk of army like this is going to be quite costly. The thing is, they are trading pretty well. We do see that with these guys all going to die, they are target firing as much as they can, and it doesn't look like Sassy is respecting this. This is a very expensive chunk of his army that is going to go down. But for Elyona, he's already got a lot in the bank here. He's not going to be able to replace these too quickly, but that's still a pretty decent trade for Elyona in this, as long as he can remax behind. With all the resources he's just spent, he feels pretty confident in doing so.
Send the arrows now in, and we're also going to be getting silk bowstrings. So with that, the archers are going to once again start trading even more effectively. And sure, he just lost a couple of horsemen. We're already having 12 more in queue. These guys, just take a look at a stable next to a keep. These horsemen are insanely cheap. I'm not sure what that university is for. SAS already has all the necessary university upgrades coming in at the moment for him.
He just wants to make sure his army is educated. So getting it out on the other side of the map just reaches more population. Hell yeah. That's disgusting. In public, 90 resources for a horseman.
No shame.
Yeah. Disgusting.
Oh,
Elyona,
no,
though,
there's a gap.
Oh, those berries. Oh, no, but Sassy instantly notices and fixes it. The problem is there's another big gaping hole that he's about to go right through, but the horses are trying to find damage themselves. The problem is with all those horses being on the other side of the map, this army could do some pretty significant damage, but it does look like Elyona is pulled back into his base. We see the green blobs moving quite fast over the rest of them, and they will be trying to find their way back. But Sassy, he needs to find some damage.
Once again, the culverins a little bit out of position. Once again, one is going to go down. The other one is going to be able to survive, though. The archer's in position to defend.
And another manor being the target here. He knows what's causing the problems, and apparently it is just going to be manners. Now, Sassy's eco does feel like it has stabilized a bit. Elyona now low on the gold. Again, that gold mine probably getting tapped out now, and he doesn't have another one he gets to go on, except the one at the bottom, which is going to be quite exposed. So they will start trickling in a bit.
The palace in range.
Army feels scary. The red palace is going to be firing back. The problem is the village is not garrisoned inside, so it's not firing. Oh, not yet, they say. But now that is going to be pressing delete on the army, one by one.
Yeah, any unit in the range of that red palace with 15 units inside just gets absolutely obliterated. SAS behind us, even adding in a second TC. You know, if trade isn't working out too much, I'll just get a couple of additional villagers in. Also, tier 3 economy upgrades now coming in for SAS behind this, so he's going to be able to very efficiently mine out these resources. This fight still going on here inside of a choke point, so the spearmen are going to take effective trades, but the horsemen, they're just so cheap and tanky and cheap. And just
and
cheap.
Tanky.
And chunky, yeah.
No, they do sacrifice themselves into the siege, and they do a pretty good job of that, but that tower is about to be a little bit more reinforced as well, so that ram, he will get deleted by those cheap and tanky horsemen that keep coming on in. The archers firing fire at that ram. It is getting deleted. Disgusting. More archers now. They have their victims in sight, and those crossbows, they are not cheap, and there's not a lot of gold laying around for him.
Yeah, Elyona behind us has remassed now into Yemen. Also getting slick bowstrings in is going to need that, because at the moment SAS has a pretty firm range advantage. Currently, we're not seeing any units being produced out of the... Okay, just when I say that, Winged Palace, he does queue up the spearmen yet again. Definitely want to have that working at all times.
It does look like that tower will meet its match, though, and it was two rams. Sorry, Crackety, your math in the background did throw me off earlier. Now I just apparently cannot do so anymore. But a singular trebuchet firing at that red palace with 15 units inside. Sassy, though, he says, I'm thinking about that manor. He attacked him earlier. And, you know, he got a taste of doing damage to House of Lancaster. He listened to the song 10 Farms. He counted the farms, saw there were too many farms, and realized he needs to go for the source. And the source is the buildings. Look at those archers just peppering away at those poor little crossbows who cannot fire through those walls.
Yeah, sometimes the direct path is not the best one, as these crossbows just struggling with finding connections onto those archers. And behind us, SAS now also starting to add in cannons. Behind us also has caught architects working for himself, so he will have also some stronger infrastructure there. Archers on top of the wall will receive some bonus range and also will be taking less damage, and that's the trebuchets just going down. Expensive losses here for Elyona, still sitting at just 71 economy now at this point in the game, and it's just a continuous flood now of horsemen, of units out of SAS' space, and the income, Whammin, it doesn't lie. SAS firmly ahead, and all of his units are a lot cheaper as well.
And that is just getting denied off of gold. We can see how quickly Elyona had to resort to now going for trash units, as we would say. I mean, Yeomen, they don't feel that trash, but they definitely are not the elite composition you want to have by this point. He is getting synchronized shot, though, so he does want to make sure that it makes it rain on top of these groups of units, especially those archers from Sassy that have been peppering away. Now, with two cannons coming in, Sassy is going to do what he did before. That methodical, slow push. He's got just enough traders to ensure that gold income is enough to replace his army composition, because he doesn't need a lot. It's a bunch of cheap horsemen, great archers, and now the cannons to just top it off with.
Horsemen just running on through, so much health on them. They don't mind if they take one or two spearman hits. At least they're able to take a couple of these expensive yeomen with them. And looking at SAS' resource bank here behind this, he could just immediately remass like 50 horsemen if he so desired.
Getting all those horsemen back up will be quite nice for him if he tries the suicide. But now Elyona has a pretty big army, right? It's not a very expensive army. We do see 2,000 resource difference. Oh, okay, now 3,000 resource difference between the two. But the one is remaxable and the other one is limited edition. So it's always great to have a limited edition army if it does get the value once off, but the problem is just, will it? And he does get a pretty good synchronized shot off, but we do see Sassy floating a lot of resources, not a lot of food though, but 29 knights now being in the mix. He feels like this switch up is not something that Elyona is ready for, because those spearmen, they're gonna do great, but he does not have crossbows to top it off with.
A guild hole just cooked here, Whammin.
Oh.
29 knights in the queue and 6,000 gold still remaining in the bank.
I wonder what he's going to switch to.
What do you switch to when you got a ton of gold?
Stone.
Oh, you meant the reason? Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, we're not gonna switch into stone. It's just gonna be more gold.
More gold, okay. He doesn't, yeah. Who needs anything
More
else you can buy? Oh, and you guys, we've seen games where there's only knights in a composition. It honestly feels like, oh my god, 45. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Shenanigans brought to you by Sassy. The Turkish king on French. He's got the style, he's got the knights, and he's got a surprise coming, because those boys, they're hiding in the stealth forest. And Elyona.
Behind that,
no scout.
there's only 3 minutes. 3 minutes left on the Sacred Side timer behind this, while SAS is still actively harassing Elyona inside of his base. A couple of spearmen getting pulled to defend up against that.
That poor little tower will not be getting his emplacement today. He might actually get to finish it and then go down, but there's a trebuchet hammering away at him, and the stone does get wasted, maybe. Yeah.
Good synchronized shot, but is it gonna be enough? The majority of the spearmen is not here at the front line at the moment. Trebuchets are gonna push forward now. In theory, at the moment, this would be a great spot for these crossbows and the yeomen to get on top of the walls, as they could now use SAS's walls up against him. We do also have a little boar play there, as the boar wants to get in on the action. Actually causing a good amount of damage. He's killed a couple of units there so far. He's just being ignored.
Yeah? Oh,
There we
no,
go.
never mind. But that was a very aggressive ball, my goodness. But that keep is next. We do see a lot of villagers ready to repair, but this feels like a pretty clutch moment here for Elyona. If he does not break through this, he is going to be in a lot of trouble. The cannons now firing back as well. Synchronized shot, beautiful on top of the army. A few of the units do go down, but the problem is those aren't cheap little horsemen anymore. Those are premium knights, and they're going to work through the spearmen, and then your archers are the ones that are next.
And there's just so many more knights coming behind the SAS. He could just queue up another 20 knights behind all of this now. Elyona, he's trying his best to get more and more spearmen out. The Gwyngar Palace working overtime, but it's just not enough. Not enough crossbows remaining at this point in time anymore as well. And SAS, like the knight count, it just hasn't moved. He's still at 30.
Getting that amount of knights is expensive, but when you've got moreknights.com, his guild hall active, it does look like this is unlimited. Now, 1 minute left on the Sacred Side timer, and it does look like Elyona has a ton of units, but it is just not enough. It always feels quite tough to have to actually pay for your spearmen, but that's what he needs to do. The Wingard Palace just isn't winning enough. It is just pushing out units a little bit too slow. The knights have broken through, and now those trebuchets are the next victims. The keep does go down, but it looks like the rest of the army will be paying the price, and 35 seconds left on it. Synchronized shot, the last hurrah, but barely even tickles.
And now, at this point in time, Elyona actually falling behind in the military count mass army value. SAS doubling what Elyona has out on the field now. Hand cannoneers coming in as well with the big discount. Such a cheap hand cannoneer unit to make here as well. And SAS, he's not letting up. More knights coming in time and time again. 7 seconds remaining. Elyona, he knows there is no way for him now to recapture any of these sacred sites. And GG comes in. SAS able to win the set up against Elyona. 2-0 clean sweep in the EGC Masters Summer Qualifier.
Amazing showcase here by Sassy, showing us what French can do in that mid-game, ensuring that aggression is there, making sure he doesn't get too far ahead. We see that military value lead going up, down, trading. He did overcommit there a little bit, but showed us he knew how to get back at it, ensuring those units don't get picked off one by one. So, amazing play here by Sassy. And Elyona putting up a good show, but he has to bow down to Mr. SAS, and SAS has a pretty good shot at the next round as well. We'll see how that looks for him.